Hello there, this is Critical from Cridical Media, just taking a look at the 2022 hardcover or perfect edition release of Orochi by Kazuo Umezz. This will be the third volume in the series, and what we usually do at this channel is give you an idea of what to expect if you ever come across these books in the wild. So we'll go over the exterior, some bonus material, art and plot points, and then a brief review at the end. Now, as mentioned, this is the third volume of four, so the penultimate release. And one thing I do appreciate about Viz Media and these releases is that they're very consistent. So, in that light, one thing that is different though is that Volume 1 had this indentation, whereas these other two, it's more embossed. So, the badges are a bit more faint, and yeah, it's just not as concave. But that doesn't deter anything from what's inside, of course. But anywho, at least walking around the rest of the exterior here, yeah, very similar on the others. Similar design on the spine, and actually a unique cover on the back, where actually the others just took a panel from the books, whereas this one actually is more of a mashup. So very unique in that light. Now, in terms of bonus material, admittedly, not much going on, very much like the others. It's really just an about the author, and that's it. Just some bookends, really. So, not much going on there. In terms of the front, you get one color splash here. Her famous finger. She always points at stuff just before she does her magic. So, definitely appreciate that. This one, though, a blown up image of one of the cells from the second story. Very much appreciate this because of the, very extensive pencil work on it. And as you kind of see, it's really just made up of two stories, stage and combat. And you can kind of notice here just how much each one kind of fills up the book. Clearly, combat is the bigger of the two. Doesn't dissuade you from either story, just letting you know which one seems to be more in depth. Anywho, it really just starts off with this story here, stage, where it just follows this very bright boy. He's very clever. He watches, his Saturday morning cartoons like the rest of us, I guess, at least at that age. And yes, this young boy, Yuichi, he sneaks out to say hello to his father on the way home from work, but as you can kind of see, a bit of an issue in that respect. That creates the whole drama. Now, throughout the series, you get this idea that this boy, he's just obsessed with thinking he knows who the driver was of that car. So much so that he swears that it's somebody on TV, like somebody he sees all the time. And it just creates this narrative, or this anima in the character, I should say, of him hating on, the whole show business aspect. Like he's even averse to it. He doesn't even want to watch TV or listen to music or anything. But out of nowhere, he, starts to, train himself in the arts. Like he starts training himself how to sing, how to act, and all that stuff. But it's all like this long, drawn out narrative, or this form of revenge that he has against this, this business, this or a particular person. And I appreciate that there is a bit of a mystery that goes on throughout the whole thing. You almost know what he's after, but you have to wonder, why does he go about it the way he does? And it's just this constant reminder. I've mentioned this before, where Umezu, he likes to remind us that the greatest horror is mankind themselves. Like, even though Orochi, she's kind of like an elf, like a wizard, like a witch who uses blood magic, she rarely comes across the paranormal horror. It's more just humanity, humans, just creating their own demons and whatnot. So, in that respect, yeah, it just progresses onward. I just like this particular page because of, just the line design and, that efficacy, that sense of dread or suspense. So, definitely love the way this one ultimately played out. It has a nice payoff, but yeah, it does take its time to get there. I won't lie. But anywho, combat. Probably the star of this volume here. It actually starts off with this very esoteric kind of aspect here. And that kind of goes in hand with the kind of tale this is. So it's about this boy and his father, Tadashi, who, yes, he has like the perfect role model in a father. Like the man is a saint. This man is such a good person. Even when he gets screwed over, he'll still help out people. Even when, there's just these meandering kind of dealings, he'll still help out. Heck, there's a fire, he'll help out a homeless man. Like that's the kind of lengths this man goes through, his father. But yeah, there's just this air of something is amiss. And it comes in the form of this vagabond who turns out to be a war veteran who somehow knows his father. And, he keeps alluding towards something. He even hands Tadashi a very odd item that kind of, sets the tone for the series. His father, who, although is a great man, seems to be, plagued with some sort of guilt that wakes him up at night even. But the series, it just kind of reminds you, like, how much of the devil do you create in your own mind versus, like, the actual devil themselves? That same vagabond, that same war veteran keeps popping up. And, yeah, even somehow leaves something for his sister to find. Very interesting what happens in that result. But, yes, it kind of just keeps going and going where you're left wondering, okay, what could it really be? What could it really be? So Umezu's creating that suspense, which is very impressive in its light. And yes, finally, I should say the character, Tadashi, ends up finding out what really did happen. And, this big secret. But what I love about it, and this is something I noticed about this volume especially, Orochi more than ever acts like the audience, like the reader, where even she can't see what's truly going on. And in that respect, yeah, even when the big revelation happens, even she can't hear it. So it just allows the reader, as well as the narrative, to kind of, carry on that mystery, that intrigue. But from that meeting, the tension begins to build. Like Tadashi tends to be more cold toward his father and all that jazz. And it does get to a point where even Orochi's like, okay, something must have happened. I gotta find out. One of the few times you actually see her use her magic. And in this respect, yeah, she finally reads his dreams. And it turns into this, World War II narrative on Okinawa. And I've always been a fan of, stories that tend to, show you the other side of history. Because even though maybe the events specifically here are fiction, it doesn't detract from the fact that, in historical senses, yeah, the Battle of Okinawa must have been dreadful for the Japanese as well, especially the survivors. And that's kind of what this kind of, delves into. So definitely intriguing the way it comes about and the revelations that come about from it too. I also love the fact that even though there's this tension between father and son, eventually the son ends up experiencing a very similar situation that may or may not, have them come to a grips or an understanding between each other. But that's what I kind of like about this story. It literally goes on to this, olive branch of a hiking trip that serves as an actual metaphor for what's going to happen in the ending. But man, I love the ending. I love how it kind of leaves you on edge because it's a very esoteric story. There's actually a line of dialogue in this from where Orochi herself goes, "Who are we to judge from this, time of peace?" I love that line of dialogue. It's pretty much a synopsis of that story in a nutshell. But anywho, it's not so much it's not so much about me at this point. Hopefully you folks have your own opinions about this. Maybe you'll come across it, in your own reading. But either way, wouldn't mind hearing your comments down below just the same. And in that respect, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. Y'all folks take care.